You know, for the longest time, people said Florida's housing market was untouchable. It was a golden child of American real estate, the state where prices only went up, where everyone wanted to live, and where every home felt like a guaranteed investment. Sunshine, beaches, no state income tax. What could possibly go wrong, right? But now, that story's falling apart. Homes that used to sell in hours are sitting on the market for months. Realtors who were bragging about bidding wars last year are now begging for buyers to show up. Prices aren't just slowing, they're slipping. In some areas, they're plunging faster than anyone expected. And the craziest part? No one saw it coming. Not the agents, not the investors, not even the governor himself. Everyone believed the hype. Florida was supposed to be safe, strong, and forever growing. But here's the truth. No market, no matter how hot, is immune from reality. When mortgage rates shoot up, when insurance costs explode, and when wages can't keep up, even paradise starts to crack. People moved here in waves during the pandemic. They sold their homes up north, pocketed huge profits, and rushed into Florida with cash offers. But that surge was a bubble. It wasn't sustainable. And now, the people who bought at the top are realizing they might have made a huge mistake. Some are already trying to sell, but no one's buying. Others are stuck paying sky-high property taxes and insurance premiums that keep climbing every year. What used to be a dream is turning into a nightmare. Families who thought they made it to the promised land are being squeezed by costs they never saw coming. Developers are pausing new projects. Investors are pulling back. And average Floridians, the people who live and work there year-round, are wondering how everything changed so fast. Florida's housing market was supposed to be untouchable. But nothing stays golden forever. When greed, speculation, and policy collide, even the strongest markets fall. And right now, Florida isn't just cooling off. It's waking up from the biggest housing fantasy in America. Governor DeSantis had every reason to believe Florida was unstoppable. The state's economy was booming. People were moving in by the hundreds of thousands, and the housing market was one of the hottest in the entire country. He built much of his success narrative around that growth. Low taxes, open businesses, and the promise of freedom in the Sunshine State. But now, that very foundation is starting to crumble, and even DeSantis himself seems caught off guard. See, the warning signs were there. Home prices were growing way faster than wages. Average workers couldn't even dream of buying a home anymore, and renters were spending over half their income just to keep a roof over their heads. But the focus stayed on keeping the economy open and attracting more people, more investors, and more development. It worked for a while, but every fire burns out when you run out of fuel, and Florida's real estate fire ran out fast. Now, the governor faces a tough reality. Tax revenue from home sales is dropping. Construction permits are down. Developers are calling off projects left and right. And the once celebrated freedom economy is showing cracks. When people can't afford to live in the very state they helped build, something's gone seriously wrong. Even insurance companies are leaving. That's right. Entire insurers are pulling out of Florida because the hurricane risks and repair costs have become too unpredictable. Families are paying thousands just for homeowners insurance, if they can even get it. Some are moving out altogether, and that's a problem no catchy political slogan can fix. DeSantis can't ignore it anymore. The media is covering it. The numbers are out, and the pressure is building. The housing crisis isn't a headline. It's a daily struggle for millions of Floridians. And as prices fall, more homeowners find themselves underwater, owing more than their property's worth. That's not just an economic issue. That's a political one. The truth is, even the governor didn't see this crash coming because no one wanted to believe it could happen. Florida was supposed to be different, but now it's facing the same harsh reality the rest of the country learned years ago. When the bubble bursts, no one is safe. If you look closely, Florida's housing crash isn't just bad luck. It's the result of a perfect storm that's been brewing for years. Every piece of the puzzle lined up perfectly for disaster. Rising interest rates, insane insurance costs, runaway property taxes, and overconfidence, all hitting at the same time. Let's start with interest rates. When they were low, buyers felt unstoppable. A couple earning $80,000 a year could easily get approved for a $400,000 home. But when rates doubled, their buying power was cut in half. The same home suddenly came with double the monthly payment. So buyers disappeared, but sellers didn't adjust fast enough. They held on to their fantasy prices. And now those listings are gathering dust. Then came the insurance crisis. And this one's brutal. Florida's always had hurricanes. But in the last few years, insurance premiums have exploded. Some families are paying $8,000 to $12,000 a year just to keep coverage. Others have lost their policies completely because insurers pulled out of state. Without insurance, you can't get a mortgage, so fewer people can buy. It's a vicious cycle that's freezing the entire market. And don't forget property taxes. As home values skyrocketed, so did the taxes that come with them. Thousands of Floridians who bought years ago are suddenly drowning in bills that used to be manageable. They're being forced to sell, but there's no one left to buy. Add to that the oversupply problem. Builders thought the boom would last forever. They kept building luxury homes, high-rise condos, and vacation rentals, not realizing that the demand was already starting to crumble. Now you've got neighborhoods full of new homes sitting empty, investors trying to unload properties at a loss, and construction workers getting laid off by the thousands. It's the definition of a perfect storm. Too many expensive homes, too few qualified buyers, and a state government that didn't act fast enough to cool things down. And the worst part? This isn't just about money. It's about people. Families who thought they'd made it are watching their dreams turn into debt. Florida's market didn't just slow down, it broke. And fixing it won't be easy. So now the question everyone's asking, what happens next? Is this the end of Florida's housing boom, or is it just a painful correction before things stabilize? The truth is, no one really knows. But what's clear is that Florida is entering a new phase, one where reality is finally catching up to hype. For starters, prices are still falling. In some cities, home values are already down by 15 to 20%, and experts say it might just be the beginning. If mortgage rates stay high, more sellers will have to drop prices just to move their properties. And that's going to hit homeowners who bought at the peak hard. Many will find themselves underwater, meaning they owe more on their mortgage than their home is worth. That's exactly how the 2008 crash started. But this time, it's not just about bad loans or greedy banks. It's about affordability. Regular people simply can't keep up. Teachers, nurses, police officers, the backbone of the community, can't afford to live in the very towns they serve. When your local workforce starts moving out because they can't find a place to live, that's not just a housing problem. That's an economic one. On top of that, Florida's insurance crisis is spiraling. Companies are leaving, costs are exploding, and climate risks aren't going away. Every new hurricane season brings more damage, more claims, and fewer insurers willing to take the risk. That's making it almost impossible for new buyers to enter the market safely. But here's where there's still hope. Maybe this collapse forces change. Maybe it pushes leaders, developers, and communities to finally build smarter, not just bigger. More affordable housing, stronger infrastructure, and policies that actually protect people, not just profit margins. Because if Florida learns from this crash, it could come out stronger. The Florida dream doesn't have to die. It just needs to wake up. The Sunshine State has weathered storms before, but this time, the storm is financial. Whether Florida rises or falls again will depend on one thing: how fast it can adapt to the new reality that paradise comes with price. So what's next for Florida? That's the question everyone's asking, from investors to families to the governor himself. Is this just a temporary dip, or is the Florida housing market heading for a full collapse? The truth is, we're already seeing the cracks widen. Prices are still dropping, not slightly, but dramatically in some areas. In cities like Tampa, Orlando, and parts of Miami, home values have fallen by double digits. Properties that were listed for $600,000 last year are now struggling to sell at $480,000. Sellers are slashing prices. Buyers are hesitating in confidence. The one thing that kept the market alive is disappearing fast. If this trend continues, thousands of homeowners could end up underwater, owing more on their mortgages than their homes are worth. And when that happens, people start walking away. That's how the last housing crash began. Not overnight, but through a slow bleed of fear, pressure, and financial exhaustion. The deeper problem isn't just falling prices. It's affordability. The very people who make Florida run, teachers, nurses, firefighters, small business owners, can't afford to live there anymore. When locals are forced to move out, entire communities begin to hollow out. Restaurants lose workers, schools lose teachers, and small towns lose their soul. And then there's a monster no one can ignore: insurance. Florida's insurance crisis is spiraling out of control. Families are being hit with $10,000 annual premiums or losing coverage entirely. Without insurance, you can't buy a home, and without new buyers, the market keeps sinking. It's a vicious loop with no easy fix. But maybe this is the wake-up call Florida needs. Maybe it's time to build homes that people can actually afford, not just for the wealthy, not just for investors, but for families who truly live there. Maybe this collapse is forcing the state to rethink what growth really means. Because paradise shouldn't just be for the rich. Florida's future will depend on whether it learns from this, or repeats the same mistakes that turned a dream into a warning. The sunshine hasn't gone away, but right now, there's a storm on the horizon,